girl who I had a thing with for a while. She told me she had no friends because they all took advantage of her. And her dad, she claimed her dad was abusive. He took advantage of her. And I started like questioning it. And it's like, well, they weren't like actually abusive. They were mentally abusive. So like, what does that mean? Your dad was mentally abusive. It turned out that I ended up on her long list of people that are mentally abusive. Why was I mentally abusive? Because I would encourage her to work out. I was like, hey, you want to be healthy? Why don't you execute on that goal and go to the gym and eat healthier? And like I would encourage her to be healthy, and she twisted that into me being mentally abusive. So I learned, unfortunately, after the fact when it was too late, that the same reason her friends were abusive, her dad was abusive, it was all the same shit. This girl just chose to victimize herself, and the victim mentality helps nobody. Imagine if instead of that, she took her dad's encouragement and she did something with it. She took her friend's encouragement and she did something with it. But instead, all these people who encouraged her, she twisted it in her mind and said, oh, they're bullying me. I'm a victim. I'm a victim. Being a victim helps nobody. And to be clear, I'm not saying you should bully people. That's not the message here. I do not condone bullying. I'm just pointing out, as a society, coddling is wrong. You got to let biology play out. The way biology plays out is if you have incorrect behavior, the people, your peers, correct it. That's how biology works out. So now, here's a real cancely topic. I hope they don't get canceled for this one, because I know someone's gonna report this like, oh, he said the word he can't say that word, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Retard. I'm gonna say it for the people in the back again. Retard. Okay, so now we have this whole thing where like, or another one, midget, twice, right? Now there's this whole thing where the word midget and retard are no longer correct. You can't say that. You have to say mentally disabled or this, that, other thing, or midget. Now, here's why I'm supporting the words midget and retard. They were medical terminologies for a while. Midget and retard were medical terms, and over the years, they switched it to different terms. Now, midget is little person or dwarfism, and retard was a broad diagnosis, and now retard is like mentally disabled, and there's a whole variety of things that go into that umbrella. So essentially what's happening in our culture is there's terms, right? And the term is used to describe something, midget, retard, etc. And over time, because that word describes something that society kind of realizes is an outlier, we decide, oh, that word's bad, so we have to change it. So it's this infinite loop. So we assign a word with it's not inherently bad. Just a midget was somebody who is less than like 4 feet tall. Okay, that's what a midget was. But then because people started using it to make fun of each other, like, oh, you're a midget, mentally retarded. Because we started using the word negatively, then the system said, oh, well, now that you're using retard and midget negatively, we're going to create a new word and put it in its place and say this is the politically correct term now. So now you can't say midget, you say little person. But here's why the cycle is stupid. Eventually, they're going to say, oh, well, now little person and dwarf is also offensive after it's been used for long enough. So people eventually get to the point where they go, oh, well, midget and dwarfism are offensive now, along with, sorry, midget's already offensive, but dwarfism and little person, now that's offensive. Now we have to create new words, just like retard. So, being retarded was a condition, but now it's mentally disabled or whatever, autistic. So eventually we're going to have like the same shit happen where it's going to be like, okay, now that we've used autistic and mentally disabled for a few years, now that's too offensive too. So now we're going to have to say like slightly mentally incapacitated. Like it's this infinite loop, basically. I know I'm like ranting here, but it's this infinite loop of just creating a new word to replace the former word because the former word became a cancel culture word, and that's what's happening. It's a retard. Like, how about we just skip that loop and say, hey, this is the word, and it's okay if you're not retarded. What do you care? And some people that have the diagnosis, funny enough, and like I know, especially with Asperger's, right? I have multiple friends who have Asperger's, and they end up being smarter than everybody. They end up being more successful than everybody because they had to adapt and they weren't coddled. And the people that end up being losers their whole life are the ones that go, I have a mental illness and I can't do anything about it because I was labeled. And how about the ones who go, like the creators of Rick and Morty have Asperger's and they own it. They fucking own it. And they're like, yeah, it's literally in the show. They're like, I think there's a line in Rick and Morty where they break the fourth wall and they're like, this sounds like it's written by a writer with Asperger's, which is a joke and a reference to the writers having Asperger's, right? So you can have your disability or whatever you have, and coddling is not going to do anything, but just going balls deep and full force and saying, you know what, it is what it is, no coddling, you will succeed. And we can't get in this loop where we just keep creating new words, and now that one's too offensive. Like, now we're getting to the point where you can't even say man or woman because you're assuming a gender. I mean, what kind of fucking world are we in where it just, I mean, I made the point. It's an infinite loop, and we need to stop. I call it the midget paradox, right? The midget paradox is a word like midget's created. It's a real definition. It describes a medical condition, and it becomes too offensive eventually, so they get rid of it. And they create a new word, a dwarf, and then that becomes too offensive, so they have to create a new word, a little person. Now, eventually, the cancel culture 2020, 2021. No bullshit excuses, right? The snowflake liberals go, oh, well, no, that one's too offensive, and just a stupid loop. How about we skip the loop and you own up to what you are? I have this condition. That's what I am. But I'm me. I'm an individual. And then you prove yourself in the world as an individual.